What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another exciting, jam-packed episode of Triple Overtime. I am Dylan Holloway. Alongside me is Amaar Burton. Austin Snyder has the week off. We have a juicy, succulent, mouth-watering show for you tonight. We've got the NBA play-in games. We've got the NBA playoffs coming up. We've got Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul with Jake Paul in his corner, of course. And we're going to talk about some unwritten rules of baseball. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? What do you think about the current controversy that's going on with the White Sox? Amaar, how are you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing good, man. How are you? It is like, okay, so I think I told everyone the story of the first one. We had a second apartment flood, 2 apartment floods in the course of 1 month.
Is this a 7 apartment flood series? Is this a best of 7? You versus the apartment flooding.
And we're down 0-2 right now.
Whoa, brother, 0-2. You don't want to go down. No Amaar has ever come back from an 0-3 apartment flood deficit in the history of apartment flooding. Yeah, so just remember that.
This next one is like must win. No, we're going to be out of here. And we're going to be out of here in a couple of weeks. Like we decided we were moving out before all this happened, but yeah, so it's been a lot. It's like going back and forth between hotels and, just with all the other craziness with packing and, trying to arrange the move and getting our other rental place lined up and everything. So it's a madhouse around here. In addition to, 2 kids and, all that and working and yeah, it's fun. So what's up with you?
You're saying you're a little stressed.
A little bit, a little tired, a little stressed, Yeah.
I am doing well, my friend. I am done with finals. So that is my final full semester here at Rutgers University. I have 6 credits left. I'm taking an internship over the summer. So that'll fulfill my final credits. So for all intents and purposes, I have graduated, if you will. Okay. So I'm a college graduate, basically. Thank you. They did the online commencement thing. They did the online commencement thing, which was kind of weird. They just kind of like say your name, like Dylan Holloway, real quick. You know what I mean? It just shows a picture of me, so that was cool or whatever, though. But other than that, I just been trying to enjoy some NBA recently that's been on TV, keeping up with the sports news and everything. And not too much besides that. Went camping recently. If anybody cares about that. I love the outdoors. Took my puppy on his first camping trip. That was pretty awesome. Old Brucey.
When you camp, you go like for real camping. Like it's not glamping. It's not, staying in the.
There's no motorhome involved. Right. So for me, I hate it when people start a sentence with that, by the way. For me, but
me personally,
in my experience, glamping is kind of like whenever you have not just like a motorhome, but if you've got like hot showers and a laundry room and there's a store right there and there's an office and it's, all for all intents and purposes, like a hotel that you just have a tent, that's kind of glamping in itself too. So this one was kind of borderline glamping. Like they had regular bathrooms, kind of like a public restroom at a park or something you would have, you know what I mean? But yeah, I like to go in the tent, build my own fire, stuff like that. I'm not really into the more glamping type deal.
The first one you described is the only way I would go camping. Me, myself, personally, I like how, because you like how people start sentences that way. But how did the dog hold up?
Me, myself, and I.
So how'd the dog hold up though?
Good. I was kind of worried on how he would act in the tent because he is pretty crazy. He sleeps in his kennel. Because like when he's out, like sometimes he'll just chill, but a lot of times he just wants to wrestle and be rowdy because he's a puppy and he's a golden retriever. And so he's all over the place. You know what I mean? But I think we did enough during the day and exercised enough and went hiking that by the time it was time to go to bed, like he was down with it. The cool thing about camping that I will tell you, as far as camping in a tent, like it totally is the best way to reset your sleep schedule. If you're ever like in a zone where I was like staying up till like 5 a.m, 6 a.m, doing assignments and then sleeping till like 2 p.m, which I hate, it makes me feel like a piece of crap. Basically going camping will completely reset it because you have no choice but to wake up when you're in a tent. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like you will wake up at like 6, 7 in the morning,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And especially if it's chilly, like it was kind of cold some nights too. It got down to like 40 degrees one night. So that was, or like in the mid 30s, I think it was at one point. So I had the sleeping bag and the blankets
Nobody oversleeps in a tent, right?
yeah, nobody oversleeps in
Yeah.
a tent. Exactly. So you wake up and then it's from waking up early, you get tired at the end of the night and everything. So I love it. It's like, it's where I feel most at peace too, just going out and immersing yourself in nature.
Mhm.
So I kind of picked this one. It was somewhat of it was a state forest. It was somewhat of a glamping type thing. I picked it because like it's my puppy's first like camping experience. So I didn't want to totally like be in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
If he like freaked out and hated it or something. I don't know. I mean, it's not like he's gonna use the bathroom or the showers either way. Like like he's like, make sure they have Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? Like
Which, you know what, this counts as sports, because I think, camping outdoors, that's like, I feel like, back in the day when ESPN, like really early ESPN, this may have even been before your time, when they didn't have all the deals with pro sports leagues and they would just show the most random stuff. Like I feel like you would have seen like a camping show like at 1 a.m. on ESPN. So we're counting that as sports.
Extreme camping, but it's somehow like a competition, like how fast can you pitch a tent or something like that.
They would have those what do they call them, like the logger competitions or whatever.
I was just about to say. So my ex-girlfriend, she went to a college in upstate New York, and she said that was like they didn't have a football team. They did the thing where they had like the big saw, like the old school, like the huge one. It went back and forth, and that was the big competition that everyone went crazy for. No, like basketball team or football team, but like logging they did the big saw. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, the big saw off, if you will. So
I thought you were gonna say your ex-girlfriend was a logger, and I was like, okay.
My ex-girlfriend was a logger and had a beard. No.
Oh man. Okay, going off the rails there. But real sports, traditional sports.
There you go.
What we came here to talk about. And as you mentioned, NBA the play-in, the playoffs. It's the postseason, whatever you want to call it, however you want.
Is it in or is it offs? Offs or ins?
It's the in before the offs.
Isn't it the State Farm play-in tournament? Isn't that the
is it's sponsored?
Sponsor? Yeah, I think so. I think, and like every time they say it, they're like the state. I think it's State Farm.
Is that why?
Maybe I'm totally wrong.
I think I've seen a lot of Jake from State Farm commercials lately, so that would explain.
He's all over the NBA anyways, though, because of Chris Paul.
He really
and
is.
James Harden used to be in him until Chris Paul left the Rockets, and Harden lost his TV deal on that one, but.
The play-in, the playoffs, the postseason. Everybody wanted that Lakers Warriors game. I mean, I think kind of from the time that it looked like the Lakers were sliding down the standings, and it was like, oh, they might actually end up in this play-in thing. Lakers. That's what everyone looked forward to. Lakers Warriors. We got it. Ends up being one of the best games of the year. LeBron hit the game winner. Curry had 37. What was just kind of
LeBron lost an eye thing was crazy.
What was like just kind of what stuck out to you about that game, or just kind of your main takeaway from the highlight of the play-in so far?
Well, that was the only highlight of the play-in tournament for me.
It wasn't though.
I mean, the game was really good, but like the other games have not been good for the most part. Like the Hornets got crushed by the Pacers, and then just tonight the Pacers got crushed by the Wizards, like 30-point blowouts. Like Barkley was on
disappointing once again.
Yeah, Barkley was on TV cursing Adam Silver. He's like, "Why did we get these games?" And they watched the game in studio, and then they have to watch the replay right after that. The replay of a crappy 30-point blowout that you already know the results of.
Yeah.
So, but in terms of the Lakers and Warriors, I thought that was a really great game. It was very back and forth. It had like a playoff championship type atmosphere from the get-go.
Yeah.
So the three things I guess that stood out to me were obviously the game was really good, as you said. LeBron's huge shot at the end to win. and then LeBron writhing in pain on the ground for about a minute straight after he got his eyeball removed, and then claiming afterwards that he couldn't see. He saw 3 rims, he said, and he just shot at the middle one, brother. Like, it sounded like a Hulk Hogan promo or something, like, Andre the Giant, 900 pounds, and we body slammed him, dude, and we did it, Hulkamaniacs.
I'm getting the impression that you didn't believe him.
I don't know. I'm not saying like he didn't get hit in the eye, but I definitely think he was dramatizing it, if you will. Like, I think he was trying to push the narrative into like mythological type scenarios. Like, because he got hit in the face, right? And then he rolled around on the ground for like a minute straight. And it's like, okay, he's trying to get a flagrant or whatever. I get that strategy. Then he goes to the bench and he gets the eye drops and he chills for a while. Then he comes back in and then he hits the shot. And then afterwards, he's like chasing down Curry. He's like, dude, I couldn't even see, dude. I couldn't see, dude. It's like that guy you're playing video games with, you know, he's like, dude, I'm barely even paying attention. I'm whooping your ass. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, all right, dude, come on, be a better winner than that. Like, I get it. You know, you got poked in the eye.
I mean, yeah, he got hit in the face. Like, I saw that. I didn't really go back and watch it and like, you know, did he really get poked in the eye? I would say, I mean, he would have to be quite the actor to kind of like, it looked like his eye was a little swollen, or he was, you know, it was like the one was a little more closed than the other. That would be some amazing, you know, muscle control if he could like fake a partially opened eye and the other one's full. I don't know, that would be weird, but yeah, I think like what you said about the strategy of the trying to draw that initial flagrant, right? It's like, you know, it's Draymond Green. Everyone knows Draymond's reputation. The refs are probably leaning towards calling a flagrant with him anyway. So yeah, you embellish the contact, you roll around like, oh, I hit my head, you know.
How many seconds on the ground is required by rule to draw the flagrant, you think? Like was LeBron like, okay, I need to at least give 2 minutes.
Like he's like listening to the refs talk. It is like, okay, how's this going? Like, what are they saying?
Dude, he rolled around on the ground like Triple H hit him in the face with a sledgehammer. Like, he was really putting it over. Like, to the point of like, I was real time watching Twitter and athletes were like, come on, Braun. Like, CJ McCullough was like, get up, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're embarrassing yourself right now.
I feel, like, you know, like at that stage in the game, I mean, I'm sure it's like, okay, you know, if I get us this flagrant, then, you know, it's free throws in the ball or, you know, whatever. Like, it puts the Lakers in a better position. And I do feel like LeBron is like always like thinking of, you know,
right,
what to do in this situation, right? I think that explains a lot of his flops and acting and all of that. It's like situational, right? Like, I don't think he's not really doing it like in the first quarter just because, you know, it's usually like, okay, this guy's in foul trouble. You know, if this guy gets one more tech, he's out of here. If, you know, we get free throws the ball right here, the game's almost over. So that's that part. The eye thing, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if he actually got poked in the eye or not. It does make for a story, you know, like you said, maybe it's that, you know, man, remember when LeBron hit that game winner when he only had one eye? Or, you know, remember when LeBron, you know, average.
Give me the ball behind 3-point land.
And he scored 50, you know, like, so yeah, when you like kind of get that little extra thing that makes the story more memorable, that could be the dramatic part that people accuse him of, you know, doing. Like, he's looking for that story and that narrative. So I don't know. Either way.
We kind of talked about this off air before we got started. Do you think LeBron is looking for maybe his flu game moment type thing? Like, I know he grew up a huge Jordan fan, obviously, as a lot of basketball players did.
Yeah.
And the flu game is like legendary for Michael. Right. You know, do you think he's like, oh, it'd be awesome if like I had a moment like that? So maybe subconsciously he's trying to make it more dramatic. I'm not saying he didn't get poked in the eye. You know, he got hit in the face. He probably got poked in the eye. But to say that like he couldn't see, I think is a bit ridiculous. You know,
I can see like you know, like a little blurry vision. And yeah, you exaggerate that with like, man, I saw 3 rims and didn't know which one was the right one. You know,
it's the cartoon where he's got the birds around his head. Amaar, come on,
like you know,
somebody dropped a safe on LeBron's dome.
Like these last, you know, few seasons, he's gotten hurt, but for the most part, it's like, you know, he hasn't had injuries and things like that to where, yeah, he's had this like oh, remember when he scored 50 on a bad knee, or, he scored 35 in a playoff game with a bad back. He hasn't been hurt like that. So, yeah, if he does want the flu game or the, Kobe hit the free throws with the torn Achilles, like that hasn't happened for him yet. And so, yeah, is, eye poke game winner. Is that, that's his,
I can't wait to hear that verse in a rap song 5 to 10 years from now. Game winner, eyes out, or whatever,
No, it's like, because like the flu game and the, Kobe Achilles free throw, those are like stories that, coaches tell their players like decades from now, right?
Right. And like even in other sports, you got the Emmitt Smith where he ran against the Giants for like, what was like a $150
with a separated shoulder
with one arm, basically.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like real legendary stuff. Even though it's not at the same level, Philip Rivers played in the AFC Championship game with a torn ACL. You know what I mean?
Or yeah,
that's real tough guy stuff.
Played Super Bowl with a broken leg, or T.O. played the Super Bowl with a broken leg.
It's a real tough guy stuff. You know what I mean? And that like fans talk about that, like, hey, how tough was that guy? Let me tell you how tough this guy was. He got poked in the eye and hit a 3-pointer afterwards.
It doesn't hit the same. It's like
it doesn't. But how about if I said he had his eyeball removed by this maniac and he saw like 30 rims and he shot it from Cleveland and drained it in LA?
That's something. That's like
does that do it for you, Amaar?
That's like
are you like Jordan flu game who?
Like that's like Rey Mysterio, like he had his eye pulled out and like and then he came right back and he finished the match, because that actually happened in WWE if you guys don't watch.
Brother. Or now, like, was it Dusty Rhodes did the promo with the eye patch? Can we get LeBron to come do the hard times promo with the eye patch on before he starts the series against Phoenix?
Top that, do you remember when Paul Pierce came out with like his whole face taped up?
Yes, not only does he have that, he also has the wheelchair moment too.
Yeah, he's got the wheelchair. Yeah, and maybe that's it. Maybe LeBron is just trying to do like, maybe we keep saying he wants to be Jordan, he wants to be Kobe. Maybe he wants to be like Paul Pierce. Maybe secretly Paul Pierce is the guy LeBron.
Please nobody tell Paul Pierce this, because the guy is already like. So.
I wonder, because Paul Pierce is getting into the Hall of Fame next year. Like, does his speech does he mention LeBron in his speech, or, in the lead up to it? Because his part of his career is always going to be kind of linked to LeBron just because of the battles they had, right? It's like, he's going to talk about greats he played with and played against, and people just think Paul Pierce hates LeBron and he's always throwing shade at him. So I wonder when he gets his Hall of Fame moment, is he gonna, mention LeBron?
Why do you think that is though? Like, does Paul Pierce have a reason to hate LeBron just because they were competitive in the Eastern Conference?
Times, in the playoff. I mean, that's weird. Like how fans think that athletes have these like deep grudges that last for decades, like the Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan thing, right? Even if you take out the whole, Jordan kept him off the Olympic team stuff, there are people who just think, Isaiah hates Jordan for life because he beat him that one time in the playoffs. After Isaiah had beaten him 3 times in the playoffs. It's like, I don't think it's like that. I mean, people just use it to like explain any opinion that the athlete has that like isn't popular,
I don't know, man. Like, they didn't shake their hands afterwards. And if you watch the Bulls documentary, you can tell there's still heat between them, as we would say in the wrestling world. I don't think they're shaking hands backstage anytime soon.
When Drew Brees becomes the NFL analyst, the moment he says something not glowing about Tom Brady, because Tom Brady will still be playing, it'll be like, oh, he just hates Tom Brady because he beat him in the NFC title game, and that's going to be what people say, right?
Yeah, but there's already documented footage of Brady like hugging his kids.
So, well, yeah, it doesn't matter, because
get rid of that. And there's no like Isaiah and Michael hanging out footage.
But they'll still say that. He hates him because he beat him in that one game that one time. Like, but that's just.
Isn't that funny? And we were talking about that off the air a few days ago. Is like the quarterback versus quarterback thing, which we both think is stupid, because it's not like Drew Brees is like playing defensive back. you know, and Brady's picking on him. It's like they play on opposite end. They're never on the field at the same time, except for maybe at like the coin toss.
Right.
You know
They never touch, they never share the field. Like, you know, when Pat Mahomes is preparing to play Tampa, he's not watching film with Tom Brady, he's watching film with Tampa's defense because that's who he's facing, you know.
Yeah. So like Breeze in theory shouldn't have heat with Brady, should have heat with, you know, the defensive coordinator or the middle linebacker or the defensive end or whoever, you know, he should have heat with Ndamukong Suh, you know what I mean?
His
or
own
somebody,
you know, his own offensive line. Yeah. But but that's what fans always make a bigger deal of these rivalries, you know. Anyway, we got off track on NBA stuff.
We went to wrestling and then football and
I know. Yeah, that was weird. So the play-ins, I mean, at the time we're recording this, you know, the Wizards are in the 8 seed, Celtics are the 7 seed in the East, Lakers got the 7 seed in the West, and we're still at this moment waiting for Golden State and Memphis to settle the 8th seed. Although we don't know that final result, going into these playoffs, like overall, just like, you know, who are you kind of looking at, you know, who can make a name for themselves, we always talk about, you know, who can like cement a legacy or change their legacy or change how people see them in this postseason. Like, what are you kind of looking at, or what teams or players are you looking at in that way that, like, you know, they can change their story in these playoffs?
For as far as I'm concerned, it's got to be Chris Paul, right? Because for better, fair or not fair, a lot of fans have him as that guy who can't grab the brass ring, who chokes in certain situations. And like, I don't think he's a choker, but I think he obviously hasn't got to the championship. So you can say that, but I mean, he tends to come up small in certain moments. You know, he doesn't come up small in the entire game, but in certain moments he's come up small, which have hurt him. Maybe it's getting injured, stuff that's, you know, not fair necessarily, but I mean, it's still, you know, like he technically couldn't win the game because he got injured and wasn't there. You know, that happened when he was with the Rockets. You know, we talked about this earlier today, that game where he was on the Clippers and he turned over the ball like 2 times in 15 seconds against the Oklahoma City Thunder in game 5. And Oklahoma City took a 3-2 lead, and the series is pretty much over after that. You know what I mean? And he just coughed it up twice in a row. Like, that's, you know, you can't blame an official for that or anything like that. So, and I think a lot of fans think of him as the guy who's like, you know, always never going to win he never won a ring. So like, who cares about his stats and all that? So I think if he were able to even just get to the finals, I think he would really change a lot of people's minds, especially with this young Phoenix team. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because this team isn't loaded or anything. I know Devin Booker, like a lot of people like him, but the team's not loaded. He doesn't have like Kevin Durant, LeBron James playing with him. You know what I mean? You know, and Chris Paul, for all intents and purposes, is past his prime. You know, like he's older now. So if he were able to take this Phoenix team to the finals, you know, maybe even the Western Conference Finals, I don't know. I think it would take at least the finals. I think he would change a lot of people's minds, and we'd reflect on him differently later on if that's as far as he ever got, you know, like especially if he had to go through like LeBron and Anthony Davis, and then he went through like the #1 Jazz or something like that, you know what I mean? Went through the Clippers and Kawhi. Like those are some formidable teams in the West, you know. So if he did that, I think people would look at Chris Paul differently and be like, wow, that guy was pretty clutch. You know, he took this younger team to the finals. He was pretty darn good. You know, I personally think he's already really good, but it's all based on like people's opinions of you are based on like either how many like huge numbers you put up or how much winning you actually did, you know. And I realize it's a team sport, but like how much winning has Chris Paul actually done, right? So
yeah, I mean, I think that one thing you hit on, like, you're right, that the guys who can change how they're viewed, right, not all of them have to win a championship to do that. You know, I think like Russell Westbrook, you know, he doesn't have to lead the Wizards to a championship to, I think, prove some of his doubters wrong. I think he just has to lead them like past the first round. You know, if they go in as an 8 seed and they knock off top seed Philadelphia, like that's a feather in Westbrook's hat, right? That kind of answers some of that. You know, he did lead a team, even if he wasn't the leading scorer, because Brad Beal's the leading scorer. Like, you know, he led a team to like a big playoff series win. or two, right? Chris Paul, like you said, I don't think he has to lead Phoenix to a championship to kind of quiet he's not clutch, he can't win, critics, right? Just, get him past the first round, right? Even though it's a 2-7 matchup, you knock off the defending champ, the Lakers. I mean, they're not a 7th seed in terms of talent. They just had injuries this year, that's so now they are where they are, right? Chris Paul leads Phoenix past them. That's a feather in his cap, right? Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, right? I don't think they have to win a championship with the Sixers this year to kind of get proof that they can win, but they have to go far. But you could, like the Knicks, I mean, just getting to the playoffs change how people view them. They don't even have to win the first round. Like
another one, if I could pick one from the East,
mm-hmm.
I'd pick the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are down on Giannis and the Bucks in general after the disappointment of last year. And I think that they really need to go far. Like, can you imagine if they got knocked out in the first round or something?
I think they would have to go to the finals, I think, to kind of, and if they go through Brooklyn to get there, even better. And then after that, it's like,
who's their first round matchup? Isn't it the Heat again? Aren't they playing the Heat again? I think it is.
Yeah. And the Heat knocked them out last year. So,
right. Yeah, it's the Heat and the Bucks.
I think
6-3 matchup.
I think if they go to the finals, if they knock off Brooklyn in the process, that's a big accomplishment for Giannis. And then I don't think they get bashed too much if they lose in the finals to the Lakers or the Clippers or, whoever they face when they get there. But yeah, I think it's just like an individual player. I think it's almost like every year for LeBron is kind of like a legacy defining year, just because there's so much focus and attention on him. And, with him, it's just about the ring count now, so can you get his 5th, just to get another finals MVP? Like, so he's always kind of in that space where whatever happens this year is going to be a big part of his story. Just because so many people always want to tell it. This year, I mean, going in as like a 7th seed, again, like they're not, not like they have less talent than they had last year. They just had those injuries, but now they're all healthy, right? If they go to the finals, the 7th seed or win it all, I mean, then, that's another thing that LeBron's done that like, no one else really did, right? Like there's been, I think Houston won it all as a 6th seed, during the Olajuwon era. The Knicks went to the finals as an 8th seed during one of those lockout years. But yeah, for LA to go that far and then to win it all, not having full home court the entire postseason, that'll be another big thing for him. And then if they don't, I just realized this would be the first year that a LeBron team lost a playoff series or lost a pre-final series since like 2010. Because it's like he's always been in the finals, and then that one year with LA where they just missed the playoffs altogether, right?
Right.
Yeah. Like whenever he's lost, it's been in the finals. Yeah. So it's like, we haven't seen him lose in the conference finals in the decade. So that'll be weird if that happens.
I mean, and you're right. It's easy to forget like how talented the Lakers are because we're falling into they're a 7th seed trap.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think they're really fortunate to have beaten Golden State. And I've covered Golden State all season. Golden State's not that great of a team this year. I would argue that they're not a very good team this year. Steph Curry is obviously having like a career year and he's playing out of his mind. But like you could tell that the Lakers were focused solely on stopping Steph Curry. Like they're double teaming him, they're triple teaming him, And then the Warriors' second option is Andrew Wiggins. And then who would you say is the Warriors' third option?
I mean,
can you even name a third guy besides Draymond Green?
Yes, I mean he's their second best player, but he's not. He's not a scorer.
I'm saying in terms of scoring because Draymond scored
like,
2 points.
Bazemore, like who? I don't know.
Maybe. Like, yeah, but that's the thing. It's like they don't have. It's not like the old Warriors. You know what I mean? And so going into the game. And like full disclosure, I like the Warriors a lot. Klay Thompson is my favorite player, so I tend to root for the Warriors. but I thought the Lakers were going to win, and I thought they're going to win by like 8 to 10 points, something like that. And I was shocked at like the Warriors were like winning by 12 and winning by 13, and then it was like a series of turnovers in the third quarter that got the Lakers back in the game. And of course, the late game heroics, LeBron's shot. I'm not going to say it's luck because I think that's stupid, but I think they're fortunate that like that's how they want. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where like if you had a choice, you're like, okay, I take those chances. You know, like what was it like a 30-footer? Or something like that.
Like 34 feet. Yeah, it's like
like how often is LeBron gonna like LeBron's clutch and everything, but how often is he gonna hit that?
Right.
You know what I mean? If that's like if you asked the Warriors before the game, if you're like, hey, you know, here's your shot, you know what I mean? Like LeBron maybe making a 30-footer, you know, like you'd be like, okay, we're in pretty good shape. You know what I mean? Like if the game's close and everything like that. You know, kind of thing. So I think the Lakers are pretty fortunate. They didn't look like a championship team in that first half. You know, like, I mean, I was raving about Draymond's defense on Anthony Davis, but like, what about the other player? What about Schroeder? You know what I mean? Like he wasn't playing well. LeBron wasn't playing well offensively. Like, you know, they looked like kind of befuddled out there offensively. Their defense kept them in the game though. And just the fact that the Warriors don't have a lot of scoring options. So I think in a 7-game series, if they play like that, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I actually thought Golden State was going to win that game. Like going in, you know, I predicted them to win. Because it just seemed like the Lakers were going to be, I don't like using the term, but like rusty. You know, it's like LeBron like just kind of came back. You know, Davis hasn't been back that long. The, you know, Drummond, Davis, and LeBron trio has played together, I think, less than the Durant, Harden, Irving trio. So it's like, I just kind of figured, you know, Golden State was just going to kind of catch them where they're just not in sync and win that game. I really wanted to see a Phoenix Golden State first round series. I thought that would have been just like really exciting. I still think though, I mean, as flawed as the Warriors are, I still think they're going to beat Utah. And I made that pick early in the season.
They got to get past Memphis first.
They'll beat Memphis, but I think so. I don't know if you remember early in the season, I picked the Warriors. I was like, you know, if they get into the playoffs, then, or maybe I think we were actually talking about Utah and like, are they legit? And I was like, I could see them losing in the first round to like a Golden State, if you know, because they're flawed, but Curry's just so dangerous and he's just so hot right now. It's like I think he could carry them past a Utah team. Now, can he carry them past, you know, the Clippers in a series? You know, that's a different story, you know, carry them past the Lakers in the series. But I think a team like Utah or Phoenix, they're more vulnerable to Curry just getting hot and, you know, averaging 35 or 40 for a series.
Yeah, he scored 37 while being triple teamed
by the number one defensive team in the league.
They were all over him, dude. Like they were like, stop Curry at all costs. Vogel even said after the game, he's like, our one goal was to stop Curry. And that kind of shows you like the potency of the rest of the Warriors offense. They're like, yeah, just stop Curry and we'll be good. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not, you know.
So, and then just another first round series that I just wanted to mention. Brooklyn and Boston. I think it actually could be a close series, closer than a lot of people think. Just the way that Jason Tatum's playing for Boston. He scored 50 in the play-in game. He had a 60-point game like late in the regular season. And then Kemba Walker, he showed up in that play-in game. I mean, that was like for that stretch where he kind of, you know, led the charge. I mean, it was like UConn Kemba Walker, you know, or like, you know, Charlotte All-Star Kemba Walker, like the Kemba Walker that Boston thought they were getting when they traded for him. If he keeps that up and then, you know, Tatum continues on this tear he's on, I know they're missing Jaylen Brown, but I'm like, they could give Brooklyn a series. Like, I don't think Brooklyn's going to like walk all over them, you know, like they're well coached, like they got some stars, like they can shoot, they can defend. So I'm looking at
do you think it's like predetermined, not predetermined, but do you think it's like for sure that Brooklyn's just going to waltz to the conference finals, or do you think they might struggle with a couple teams?
I mean, I could see them.
Like, can you see like I don't know what the
Like,
matchups are, but could you see like the Miami Heat knocking off Brooklyn?
no,
Possibly.
I could see Milwaukee knocking off Brooklyn. I don't really see Philly knocking them off. But yeah, I think Boston could put like a scare into them. I don't think they'd actually beat them, but I think that could be.
I can't get into Boston, and I don't know why, but I just find them like kind of boring to watch.
And
even when Tatum's like going off, it's like the most boring 50-point game ever. I'm just like,
it was like you didn't really notice it. It was just like, oh, he got 50. Okay, like
yeah, I don't know if it's. I don't know. It just feels like I feel like that's kind of like Eastern Conference basketball in general to me. Like I don't know what it is. Like even if the games are close, like the Pacers and the Wizards, not tonight's game, obviously, but like games in the past that have been close, I'm just kind of like, all right, yeah, cool, like it's.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I could see Milwaukee giving them a battle and maybe knocking them off. I think the teams more likely to beat Brooklyn would be in the finals, like the Lakers, the Clippers. It's weird. It's like the 2-1 seeds. I'm just totally writing off. I'm just like whatever. It's like
you got the Jazz. So can the Jazz lose to the Grizz? Let's say the Grizz. Let's see Steph Curry has a bad shooting night because it could happen. He has a bad shooting night because if he has a bad shooting night, it's like you better hope that Wiggins is on. And to be fair to Wiggins, he had a good game against the Lakers, especially in the first half. I'm kind of picking on him a little bit. He is their second best scorer, though, for sure. But I'm just getting at that it's not the same Warriors. It's like where it's like, well, if Steph's not good, you got Klay Thompson. If Klay Thompson's not good, you got Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? Yeah. It just like goes on from there. Iguodala and all that crap. Yeah. But do you think that like if the Grizz were to catch the Warriors, could the Grizz give the Utah Jazz a scare, or do you think it's just the Utah Jazz would just steamroll them?
No, I think I don't see Memphis beating Utah. I think they would get past them, and then they most likely, because I'm assuming the Clippers beat Dallas in the 4 or 5, right? So, but yeah, I could see the Clippers beating Utah. I could see Golden State beating Utah. The Lakers, like Denver. Portland, Utah could be like a back and forth series.
You just really don't like Utah, is what I'm getting at.
What is it like? I like
who else could destroy Utah? Utah's really good, dude.
I like Donovan Mitchell. I like Clarkson. I like Gobert. Like I like some players on their team. I don't know. Maybe it's the like. Like usually there's kind of stages.
You're not a fan of Joe Ingles?
He's cool. Usually it kind of goes in stages where like, you get to the playoffs and you lose in the first round. And then the next year you get there, maybe you win a round or 2. And then you kind of get to the conference finals. And then you get to the finals, then you win. Usually it works in stages. And I feel like for Utah, it's just too soon to be like, yeah, they're a finals team. Like they just kind of got there. I mean, I think was it last year they lost in the first round, right? Then they blew a 3-1 lead in the first round.
Was it the first round?
I think, yeah, to Denver. Yeah, because
I know they lost to Denver. I couldn't remember if it was the first round or not. But
yeah,
to be fair, though, Denver was playing out of its mind in the playoffs last year.
After they would go down 3-1, they would.
So that's their secret is to go down 3-1.
Yeah.
Like
they're like, we got them right where we want them now. No, I just don't see.
Not only 3-1, but they'd be like in the 5th game down 20.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, and then the
like most of the time, that's when you turn off the TV. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're like, well, this is over. Like,
I don't see Utah going from like first round loss to finals like that with pretty much the same.
I could see with the conference finals, they're really the thing is they're really healthy. They like not a lot of
skipping steps if they do that. So I just
not like skipping. You're like, are you telling me you have unwritten rules for making the NBA Finals, Amaar?
No, they're not. Well, they're not rules, but they
sounds like a segue to our next segment.
And that does sound like a segue to Major League Baseball. What's the word? I don't know, the Disneyland of unwritten rules. where, you know, the history of the game and the sportsmanship and whatever. The latest MLB unwritten rule controversy involves the Chicago White Sox and their slugger I almost said Hernandez, Yermin Mercedes, which is a much cooler name.
Unique New York. Unique. It's kind of a tongue twister. I got you though.
Yermin Mercedes in a game against the Minnesota Twins. The White Sox were beating them. It was like,
hey, they're the ones on your hat.
What was it? Yep, the Twins.
Yeah.
Because I have twins. So
is that why you bought that? Because you have twins, or did you? Okay.
Yeah. No, we found out, you know, like when we found out it was twins, I went online and I bought this.
You quickly went out and bought a bunch of Minnesota Twins.
I did. Yep. Yeah. My plan was that I would wear this at like the baby shower, but we ended up not having a baby shower because of COVID. So yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so that's part of my gear now, and it won't be the last. I will buy other twin stuff. I'll probably get one of those like jackets, one of like the cool, like, you know, yeah, one of those starter jackets or something. Anyway, yeah. So Twins are getting blown out. It was like 15-4.
15-4, yeah.
Late in the game,
which in baseball is a blowout. Yeah.
Right. Late in the game. And the Twins were down to like they were using a position player to pitch, so he's not really a pitcher, and he's 3-0 count on Mercedes, and the guy throws like basically like a softball, you know, wiffle
47 miles an hour.
He pretty much like underhanded it, you know, and just kind of served him up, and Mercedes is just like, oh, okay, boom, like.
Didn't he send it like 450 feet or something? They said like he just
knocks it out of the
he
park.
just crushed it. Yeah.
And apparently in baseball that is frowned upon, because if you are in a blowout, does it matter if you're up or down? Does it matter? Like, can you? I don't know. Anyway,
I imagine if you're down, you're allowed to. Like, you just have to give up.
Yeah. So apparently in Major League Baseball, if it's a 3-0 count in that situation where your team is up by a lot, then you're not supposed to swing. And White Sox manager Tony La Russa, the Hall of Famer, he apparently was telling Mercedes, like, don't swing. And Mercedes didn't hear him, or he didn't care. He swung anyway. And it became this whole thing. There was, I think, what was it? The Twins threw at him the next day, and like
the next day. So the thing that happened is the Twins got mad in that game, and afterwards La Russa said like that Mercedes is a rookie and that's why he doesn't know anything. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something along those lines. Doesn't know anything.
He doesn't know any better.
You know, basically calling him almost an idiot. That's like, he didn't even say he doesn't know any better. He said he doesn't know anything. You know, kind of thing. Which just
say like there will be consequences or something.
There will be consequences. Yeah, within our family. Like he's the mob or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, don't you ever go against the family? You know what I mean? Kind of thing. Like
on a 3-0 pitch.
But it's just the thing that doesn't make sense, and we'll get to the aftermath. The thing that doesn't make sense about the don't swing on the 3-0 pitch is in baseball, there's no time limit. There's no like, oh, it's the fourth quarter and we're just running out the clock. Like in theory, the Twins can get right back in the game if they just get hot on hitting.
Yeah.
When you want as many runs as you can get to ensure the victory, it doesn't make sense to me to be like, oh, we're up by 11. Stop playing.
Yeah, you can't sit on a lead in baseball, right? Like there's no clock to run out. You're not just
you can't start running the ball in baseball.
Yeah, you don't give it to the fullback right up the middle and get your 2 yards and milk the clock.
Take a knee.
Yeah, like that's not how it works in baseball, right? And so the other team can always pose a comeback. There's always a chance for them to come back, right? It's unlikely that you're going to make up 11 runs in 1 or 2 innings, but it can happen, right? It's happened.
Teams have done stuff like that.
And then you're sitting there like, dang, like if we had 1 or 2 more runs, like, this wouldn't have happened, right?
So imagine if he's like, hey, Mercedes, don't swing, and Mercedes like walks or whatever, and then the inning ends shortly after that, and then the next 2 innings the Twins just start crushing it and come back and win by 1 run. Like, how dumb would you look?
Yeah, like that's the part I don't get with the in baseball, like I think running up the score is fine. Just it's okay because, like you said, there's no clock and the team can always come back. And just hitting a baseball on the major league level is so difficult. It's not like you can just easily score runs. And I feel like you should just generate runs wherever you can, just in case, right? It's not like, in basketball, okay, maybe you're sitting on a lead and then the other team starts to come back and, it's kind of close. Okay, we got to start playing again. And you could score, right? Like it's not super hard to score in basketball, but baseball, I mean, everyone that plays the game or coaches the game talks about how hitting a baseball is the most difficult thing to do in sports, right? So it's not like a baseball team could be like, oh, okay, like they're close. Well, let's just score another run. You know what I mean? Like that's hard to do. So,
and the other thing, Amaar, is like, I don't think you should get mad about people running up the score in any professional sports.
Oh no, I don't either.
It's professional. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is like all these players' salaries are directly tied to their performances. Mm-hmm. So like you want to hit as many home runs as possible. You want to get as many points in basketball as possible. You want to throw more touchdowns, get more catches, more tackles, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like if you're if you're coming up for a contract, you can be like, hey, I hit this many home runs, and that directly links to your pay. It's not like it doesn't matter at that point. It's not like they're like, well, you hit that home run in garbage time, so we're not giving you the extra salary bump. You know what I mean? Like they don't look at that part. They care about how many home runs you hit. So I think every
year we see that story of, this receiver needed one more catch to get a bonus. And, they kind of set up this contrived play to get him the catch in the last game, right? I think the Seahawks did it
with David Moore.
Yeah.
What happened is Russ called an audible in the huddle to get him his last catch for like a $500,000 bonus. And they gave him one of those little pitch play type deals, which, I mean, Pete Carroll was the kind of coach. He was like, I loved it. It was awesome. There's some coaches, though, like I'm sure that would have come on, like if Bill Belichick was there, I'm sure he would have come unglued.
Yeah, but Moore is he's still gonna get his bonus because he got the numbers, right? It's not like it's gonna be like, well, that last catch didn't really, that wasn't really a catch, or that didn't really count. Yeah. So to your point. But okay, so with the Mercedes thing, so La Russa's all mad and whatever, and there will be consequences.
Mad at his own player for performing well.
He's mad at his own player for hitting a home run, and then. And then the next day, what happened was they threw at him, right?
Behind his head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give him a little chin music, trying to send a message. That's the old school way in baseball. Mm-hmm. Like if you did a bat flip or something, God forbid, they'd throw at your head at 90 miles an hour baseball the next game or whatever that they saw you.
And that happens. And La Russa defended the Twins for throwing at his player.
He said something along the lines of like, he said, I don't think they meant to do it, and if they did, I think they handled the situation well, or something like that. I was like, what?
And the thing with like, why do you need to throw at him? Like, do you think that's what's going to make him not do it again? Well, and how often is it going to come up? Okay, well, the next time that you're up on us by 10 runs, it's a 3-0 count. I bet you won't swing then. Like, I don't know. Like,
just be better at baseball. Don't give up a home run. Like if you're like, I don't know. Like, if you're I want to ask you real quick. Mm-hmm. Does this happen in any other sports you can think of? Where like, can you imagine? The situation that comes to mind immediately is I remember this was years ago before the Seahawks had won a Super Bowl. They had Pete Carroll's the coach. So Russell Wilson, I think, was in like might have been the year they won. This first or second year, they're playing at Buffalo Bills. They're in Toronto, but they're at the Bills. They're up by like 30. And like the Seahawks ran a fake punt. Like right up the middle, right? And Pete Carroll afterwards, they were like, what was up with that? And he was like, oh, that was like an automatic audible we had based on like the situation of the formation. He's like, I probably should have called it off, but oh well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what we're trying
like,
to do, right?
Yeah, like that's what we had set up. Like we didn't know we'd be up by 30, like good for us. You know what I mean? Like, do you think is there any other sport where like the next time the Bills play the Seahawks, the Bills are headhunting because y'all ran that fake punt? You know what I mean? Does that happen anywhere else?
No, I mean, Okay, I'm trying to think. I remember when you remember when Ricky Davis tried to get the triple double, like when he missed a shot on purpose on his own on the other team's basket. I don't know if you remember
When
that.
was that?
It was like early 2000s, maybe. Like, so Ricky Davis, he was on those Cavs teams, like pre LeBron, like those terrible Cavs teams, and
Oh yeah.
it was like he was one rebound away from a triple double, and so they inbounded to him like in the backcourt, and he took off towards the wrong basket and shot a layup, which he missed on purpose so he could get the rebound. So that was his rebound, but it didn't count because it was like, well, you shot the ball at the wrong basket. That doesn't count as a shot attempt, and so therefore it did count as a rebound. But it was like he did it, and I think someone on the other team saw what he was doing, and so they ran and was trying to stop him. And I think they fouled him kind of hard, or like they grabbed him, and like there was almost a fight or whatever. And I vaguely remember like, whoever was Cleveland's coach kind of, he was also mad about it. Like, that was Bush League. Like he shouldn't have done that. And I think maybe stopped short, or maybe he did kind of just be like, yeah, I understand why the other team, was pissed, right? Like I get why they did that. I don't think it was like, oh, and then the next time the Cavs played whatever team it was, somebody threw the ball at Ricky Davis's head and like it was okay. Like the only sports, and this is going to be
That's a little different though, because I think for one, I think that is Bush League to run to the opposite end.
Yeah.
Like, that's different though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he had just drained a three in their faces, even though they're up by 20, it's like, well, he's hot. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Like I do notice though that in baseball and hockey, fans and media and everyone else is okay with the players policing themselves, as they put it, right? But in like basketball and football, that doesn't happen. You don't, or when players do police themselves, it's like this big controversy. And oh my God, they need to suspend people. And how come the refs weren't involved? And whenever there's whenever there's a basketball brawl or a basketball fight, it's just covered differently than when there's a baseball fight or a hockey fight. Or
it doesn't
so
make
it's kind of like, oh, cool, like a base brawl, like it's fun or something,
But do you say base brawl?
Yeah, no. You ever heard that before?
I never heard base.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it was base brawl.
I always thought. I'll tell you, Amaar, though, I'm not a hockey fan in the slightest. I've been to like a couple games. I always thought it was weird how they're just allowed to like just fight suddenly.
Yeah,
like I was looking around. I'm like, why is this? Like the ref is just standing there. Like all of a sudden they're in the octagon. Like, are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on. And I'm like, what is happening?
Have rules where it's like they can fight up until like somebody goes down, or someone pulls the guy's shirt over his head or something like that. It's like there's actually stuff like, oh no, you don't step in until this happens. So it's like part of the rules that they're allowed to fight, which is crazy because you would never see that in basketball, right?
Like, or football. Yeah, like in football, if
players are allowed to fight. I'm like,
if you slap a guy in the head where he's wearing a helmet, you get ejected and then suspended and then fined. And
or like in baseball.
It never made sense to me. And baseball, not as bad as hockey, but baseball, you're right. It is romanticized.
Yeah.
The brawls.
Somebody gets hit or whatever, and then the bench is clear, right? In basketball, if you step off the bench, you're suspended, right? For like the next game. Like if you step off the bench during an altercation, you get in trouble. In baseball, the whole team comes onto the field during an altercation, and like it's cool, and no one's gonna get suspended unless somebody like, kicks somebody or whatever, throws a punch. Like I noticed that. That's weird. I'll
tell you, I'm not the biggest fan of baseball, and I think the unwritten rules is a big part why. It's just this stupid, like, oh, well, you can't flip the bat. You can't hit on a 3-0. It's so dumb. And there's just, it's not like Tony La Russa is the only guy who thinks this way.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole league and fan base of Tony La Russas,
Yeah.
you know, who are like, oh, blah, 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 not my game. You know what I mean? It just doesn't seem like a very fun league. I saw someone, just real quick, I saw someone on Twitter too saying that it's funny that Tony La Russa like drives drunk and doesn't care about DUIs and breaking the law, but he cares a lot about unwritten rules in baseball.
Yeah.
So yeah, didn't he try to like flash his ring or something, his World Series ring, to get out of a DUI or something like that when he got pulled over?
Well,
he covered it
I'm
up,
like,
yeah.
you know, Tony La Russa, the guy that he coached or managed Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire, you know, during that era. And
say no more, brother.
Yeah, but we're talking about the sanctity of the game and all that. Like, yeah, come on.
Yeah, and I think that's what really bugs me about the baseball thing is it's not like, hey, don't do that, it's bad sportsmanship. They're like, for the sanctity of the game. Like, they're so holier than thou with it. It's like, dude, get over yourself.
I think the only one that's worse is like golf. Like golf is really stuck up about itself, right? like with their rules and this being sticklers about it, and like baseball. I just, you know, and we've talked on here before about baseball kind of being like stuck in the past and not, you know, moving the game forward, and just even with the way they market themselves, you know, how it's all about the game, you know, and just the game of baseball, and it's so great and it's got all this tradition, and you know, it is, but like. Yeah, some of the unwritten stuff. And it's like, I don't know if it's going to go away when La Russa's generation goes away, you know, because I think it just gets passed down. And guys, I think you see a little more like bat flipping's okay, or, you know, admiring your home run. It doesn't get, you know, you don't totally get beamed about anymore. But it's just like, why is this still a thing? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
It's so ridiculous.
Speaking of showboats and people who, you know, admire their work, and you know, Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Logan Paul are fighting exhibition fight June 6th. I'm not sure. Is this like the Mike Tyson Roy Jones where like, you know, you couldn't hit each other in the head and like that kind of, or is this like Mayweather McGregor where it's like, you know, basically a real fight? Like, I don't know.
They've said it's an exhibition, so I believe that the rule is, that's what Austin told me, and he's not here to defend himself, so we're gonna go with that, is that you can't hit each other in the face. I don't know, was the Mayweather McGregor labeled as an exhibition as well?
I thought it was, right, because like it didn't go on Mayweather's record. I thought
I don't know, did they hit each other in the face?
They did, yeah.
I watched it and I can't even remember now.
Yeah,
it feels like it was like 20 years ago.
I think maybe that was considered like a real fight. But this isn't. This is an exhibition. And so I don't know like I didn't bother looking up what the restrictions are, because I'm not going to.
Well, even if they're allowed to hit each other in the face, Logan Paul's not hitting Mayweather in the face. I can tell you that. Like, there's,
you know what though?
no way.
Okay. I'm like I said, I'm not buying the fight. I'm a fight fan. I'm a Floyd Mayweather fan.
You're the boxing guy of the show. You're the fight guy.
Yeah,
so
like
you know more about this stuff than I do. So if you're not buying it, then I'm like, oh
no, you know? I'm not buying it. You know, I do think that if Floyd fights this like he normally fights, he'll get hit, because he even did versus McGregor. Like the first 2 to 3 rounds, he just kind of like feels you out. And he kind of lets you do your thing, and he's kind of getting his range and like getting his timing. And so you'll see like he'll lose, you know, maybe round 1 and round 2, you know, and he'll kind of let the guy kind of, you know, do his stuff for a couple 2 rounds, maybe 3. So I could see like he'll get hit a couple times and people are going to be like, oh, like Logan Paul, like hit him, like, you know, but then it's like Floyd, like he figures it out. He kind of figures out what you do, and he gets his timing and his distance, and then he just dominates, you know, rounds 4 through 12, right? And you barely touch him after that, and he's just kind of playing around with you. So
the reason this fight is so unappealing to me is because like Floyd is the defensive boxer, You know, we're not going to see like with Mike Tyson. It's like, holy cow! It's like the power of Mike Tyson. You know, he's known for like his huge hits.
Yeah.
You know, Floyd's going to go in there. He's a master of it.
Mhm.
Like he's one of the greatest boxers ever, maybe the best defensive boxer of all time. But the whole fight's going to be him like defensively fighting and getting away and avoiding stuff, and it's not going to be fun to watch. And the whole like, you know how they say like you've got a puncher's chance type thing. The only way that like Logan Paul could win would be like if he caught him with like a knockout blow to the face or something. But if you can't hit him in the face, like what chance does he have? Is Floyd just going to literally be blocking like his midsection the whole time, like have his face out? You can't hit him in the face. Like it's, I don't know how entertaining this is going to be unless Floyd makes it entertaining on purpose and puts on a show if he's so confident. But who knows, you know?
I mean, like, even when Floyd was in his prime fighting other world championship boxers, a lot of people didn't like his fights, and a lot of people thought his fights were boring, right? So I remember the Pacquiao fight. You know, we had a whole like fight party at the house, you know, house full of people, and a lot of them were, you know, you'd say like casual fans, or, you know, people like they don't really watch boxing like that. But
I watched it, and I'm a casual fan. I watched that one, yeah.
And a lot of people were like disappointed, and they were like, you know, it was boring. You know, he was just playing defense the whole time. He was running the whole time. You know, he was never going for a knockout. And I was like, you know, if you've watched Floyd fight a lot, it's every Floyd fight goes that way, right? Like there's a lot of buildup, and people get excited for, I think, the possibility that this opponent is going to beat him, and there's all this hype. And then the fight starts, and it's a Floyd Mayweather fight. And
it kind of be like if you went into a football game thinking you were going to see like Patrick Mahomes high flying offense, and it was like the 2000 Ravens versus the 85 Bears or something.
But
you know what I mean?
It was
like
the 2000 Ravens versus 85 Bears the whole time, and you still convinced yourself, oh, it's going to be, you know.
Yeah, it was like 9-3 at the end.
Yeah, it's like, but you've seen these teams play before, and you knew it was going to be like this. Why did you get yourself hyped up thinking it's going to be, you know, a high scoring game? Like, yeah, like you said, I mean, maybe if Floyd just doesn't take him seriously and is like, oh, you know, I can knock this clown out, he's gonna make it exciting. But if he fights like Floyd is known to fight, then yeah, it's not going to be exciting. People are going to be saying it's boring, especially if they can't hit in the face, because yeah, like you said, then it's just like, well, there's no chance of just a one punch knockout, you know.
And I am not faulting Floyd whatsoever. Like he's got his reputation to keep. Like, can you imagine, you know, like why would you take a chance to lose to this YouTube guy? You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine him taking a big enough risk to where it could be a possibility. But so how do you think the fight's going to go then? Like, is it just going to go the full distance and then Floyd's going to win by decision because he's got more points or whatever? Punches landed.
Well, okay, like the McGregor fight, right? People said the same thing. You know, McGregor will have.
Didn't that end on stoppage?
Yeah, and they'll say, people said going in. Well, McGregor fans say going in that he has a puncher's chance, right? Well, you know, he's knocked out all these MMA guys, and, you know, anybody could get lucky, or, you know, anybody could hit one punch. And, you know, Floyd's older, and he hadn't fought. He had been retired for a while. And so similar thing here. People are going to think that, oh, puncher's chance. Well, Floyd's been retired. Well, he's going to be rusty, and his, you know, timing's not going to be right. Maybe Logan will catch him. But McGregor, the thing with that was shaping up to be a Floyd fight, but McGregor got hella tired, right? Because he wasn't used to that. And so
I don't know why. And the thing is, Amaar, is I don't know that much about boxing or even MMA, but I knew that McGregor's thing is like he kind of gets gassed even in MMA.
Right.
So like when they were like, oh, he's going to box for how many rounds? Like 12 rounds is a boxing match.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way he's going to last.
It would have been 10.
Even I knew that he wasn't going to last. I was like, he's going to get gassed, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like
he's not used to that. And he already gets gassed in MMA, which is 3 or 4 rounds or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm really exposing my lack of fighting knowledge here.
but like, you know, I think if this does go for a knockout for Floyd, it'll be more so because Paul is just exhausted. and Floyd just kind of like beats him into the ground, which is basically what he did with McGregor, right? It was
pushes
like,
him over.
yeah, like he just, he was hitting him, and McGregor was also just super tired, and so the ref was just kind of like, okay, like you're done, like you can't, he just saw like this isn't going to end well for you. So I'd say like probably like a TKO,
Yeah.
on a combination of like a flurry of punches combined with Logan Paul being tired. I don't think there's
also,
going to be like the big Tyson knockout, like the one,
yeah.
like, oh my God, knockout.
Speaking of boxing, though, I just remembered that they announced Wilder versus Fury Part 3.
Mm.
It's happening July 24th at Allegiant Stadium, I believe.
Mm.
Are you excited for that?
Not excited. I mean, I'm interested in it.
Are you going to buy that one?
Maybe.
Did you buy the last one?
No. I might buy this one. Because it's like, part of me is like, okay, Fury beat him so bad in the last one. Like, why are we even doing a rematch? Usually I'd say you deserve a rematch when it was like a close fight or a controversial decision, or you know what I mean? Like something happened where it was like, oh man, if they fought again, that might go differently.
Wasn't there people saying that like Fury hit him with like an illegal punch or something?
Well, yeah,
like that?
yeah, that's what I was gonna get to. Like, yeah. I didn't see much in that. So the first time they fought, it was a draw.
Mm.
The second time they fought, Fury like dominated him. But
I saw the second one. I didn't watch the first one, but I watched the second one on Facebook. Yeah.
But there's a theory or accusations have been made of like Fury had, he loaded his gloves and, there was like some cheating involved. And
some pro wrestling stuff up in here, brother. That's old school. Loaded
gloves. Yeah. He had brass knuckles under his glove. And so there's some accusations of that maybe enough people take seriously to like, okay, we need to see them fight again, and like, they're gonna test Fury's gloves and make sure everything is like legit, and that there's no shenanigans going on or whatever. I think more so this is just happening because I guess it was contractually obligated for Wilder to get a rematch, and it didn't happen during COVID because COVID and
right.
We weren't having live fights and nobody wanted to schedule a really big fight during COVID because there'd be no crowd. So that's why it's happening really, is because it was contractually obligated to always happen. But as far as level of interest, I mean, it's two of the top heavyweights in the world. It's, heavyweight title fight. So there's always interest there. But am I picking Wilder to win? Like, no, I haven't seen any reason why he would.
They also said like there was also like talk of like, well, Wilder was too exhausted by the time he got to the ring because of his entrance gear.
Now, and that was his theory. He said that his costume was too heavy. And so, yeah, this fight, I'm like, I want to see, does he come out with like nothing? Does he do like a towel?
Just old school. Yeah. No music.
Yeah. He just goes, Mike Tyson.
He has people carry him to the ring to conserve energy. Like,
and then if he loses, he's like, well, I wasn't like warm enough because I just had a towel on. So I was a little chilly, and, we need to do Wilder Fury 4.
Well, I thought I saw someone say that like Fury like punched him, like gave him a rabbit punch or something, which knocked off his equilibrium, which is why he was able to dominate so much.
Yeah, and like the rest of the fight, he couldn't get his back.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he like did dominate. Like I said, I'm not a big boxing fan. I'll go on YouTube. The extent of my boxing knowledge is I'll watch Mike Tyson highlights on YouTube or Muhammad Ali highlights because I think they're really cool. And they're YouTube. What's that?
That's why I love watching Mike Tyson highlights on YouTube. That's like,
I'll just sit there and watch like Mike Tyson's 20 best knockouts and just sit there and like veg out, or like Muhammad Ali promos. You know what I mean? Him cutting a promo because I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Muhammad Ali credited Gorgeous George, the pro wrestler, as where he got a lot of his influence for like his personality and stuff like that. Like he saw Gorgeous George cutting promos and he's like, I want to be like that guy. And so Muhammad Ali like ramped it up. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he was like a gimmick, but he definitely ramped it up in terms of his interviews and like, I mean, Muhammad Ali is one of the greatest interviews of all time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting just because there's so much controversy. I guess I'm interested in seeing it. like with the suit and the rabbit punch, and I didn't even know about the loaded gloves until you told me. That's amazing.
I mean, Wilder did. It was like surprising how badly he lost that fight, and
I thought a lot of people had Wilder as the favorite, right?
Going into their first fight, yeah, I think a lot of people did. And I mean, Wilder, I mean, you could argue, he won that fight. I think he knocked Fury down twice in the first fight, but it was like, because okay, like if you haven't watched Wilder, he's like a knockout artist, right? And so it was, the first fight was like Fury outboxing him, but Wilder had 2 knockdowns, and so most people will just look at that and say, well, he knocked him down twice. How do you not win the fight?
So I want to ask you, as someone, I'm a very casual boxing fan. I know knockout obviously ends the fight.
Mm-hmm.
How much is like a punch worth versus like a knockdown? Is there like a scale? Is it like 10 punches versus a knockdown or something like that? Or is it just,
I mean, because technically, if you knock someone down, you're 99% of the time going to win the round 10-8 instead of the normal 10-9, right?
Even if they've been sitting there wailing on you the whole time?
That's why I was like most of the time.
That's why boxing is confusing to me, because the rules aren't like football is so clear.
Mm-hmm.
And basketball with the rules, you score, you get a point.
It's subjective. It's like, when you watch the Olympics and like gymnastics or figure skating. I know someone is super pissed at me for comparing boxing to figure skating, but but it really
that's the first sport you went to.
Because it really is, because you have,
I understand. You could have said dunk contest, and I would have let you live.
Sorry.
I understand. There's a judging system.
Yeah, there's a judging, and there's human subjectivity and human opinion on, okay, we have this general criteria of how you're supposed to judge, but everyone has their preferences, and so, yeah, like usually if you knock someone down in a fight twice, expectation would be that you won, because the assumption is, you had to be doing some damage to knock them down twice. It wasn't like they just beat the crap out of you and you landed 2 punches that happened to knock them down.
Is it subjective though? Like, is it automatically like a knockdown? Are all knockdowns worth the same value? Is what I'm saying. Let's say you and I are in there boxing, right? And like, I swing at you and I connect, but you kind of trip over your own feet at the same time, and like fall over. Versus like if I uppercut you and you go flying like Glass Joe.
As far as like scoring the round, yeah, they're all worth the same. If the ref rules it a knockdown, I think actually if you get knocked down, you have to lose a point in the round, right? So I think if you got knocked down, but you dominated the rest of the round, would it be like a 9? Wait, can you do 9 rounds?
How many times has Floyd Mayweather been knocked down, do you think?
Down?
Less than 10.
I want to say during his prime. Did it ever happen? I'm trying to think okay, because I remember Shane Mosley rocked him twice. And I don't remember if he actually knocked him down. I remember he hit him real hard, and it was like Floyd at least kind of stumbled, and everybody was like, oh, like, it's happening. But I don't know. I don't remember if he actually went down. So it's like he's been, I mean, I don't want to say he's never been knocked down, but it's happened very rarely. And I think since his kind of prime started, I can't recall when he got knocked down.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But like you said, arguably the greatest defense fighter of all time, right? Anyway, okay, so yeah, Wilder. So the first one's a draw, but Fury outboxed him. Second one, it was like Fury just beat him up, and it was
second one was a squash match, as we would say in pro wrestling.
Yeah,
it was a rout, brother.
Right, and
I thought I was watching. I got hyped into it because I just kept seeing promos for the fight, and I was like, these two dudes are huge. I'm not a boxing fan, but this looks like it's going to be cool. Mm-hmm. They both had really cool personalities. I was like, I'm going to watch this. I thought I was going to see like a overtime thriller in the NFL, and instead I got like Seahawks Broncos Super Bowl 48, where the Seahawks just whooped their asses for 3 hours.
I think part of the opinion of it was kind of based on like their look, because I think Wilder, like, he's all like cut and he's a knockout guy, and like he just looks like he should beat up Fury, because Fury, like, he doesn't look impressive, right? he's a big dude, but he's not like, muscle definition and all that.
He looks like he could be somebody's dad.
Yeah,
it's like who used to play sports kind of thing, like someone's dad who played college basketball or something.
It's like Bobby Lashley versus like King Kong Bundy, right? Like
I wouldn't even put him at King Kong Bundy. King Kong Bundy at least had a bunch of mass,
or like Big Show or something. Like he's big, but he's like not muscly, right?
Yeah.
So I think people just kind of, that was part of the favoring Wilder thing. It was like, oh, he looks like he should beat that guy up. And then he went in there and he got outboxed. In both fights, he got outboxed. And in the second fight, he got outboxed and like knocked out. That was so dominant. I think people were kind of like, okay, something might have been up. Something might have been off. Maybe Fury was cheating. Maybe his gloves were loaded. Maybe he did hit him with a rabbit punch and throw off. Because it was just like, that wasn't supposed to go down like that.
It's just funny that like it couldn't have possibly been that like he had a bad day and Fury had the fight of his life.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It like has to be like, well, somebody cheated. Like,
like when and we'll bring it back to the NBA. When Steph Curry and Golden State, when they blew that 3-1 lead, it was like, oh, it had to be fixed. It had to there had to be some rigging going on. Like they couldn't have just lost 3 games like that in a row. Like something had to be up. But sometimes
people were saying that like the aforementioned Super Bowl 48 with the Broncos and Seahawks. Mm-hmm. As a Seattle Seahawks fan, obviously that was the greatest day of my life, essentially. I remember the next day there was people saying like, "Oh, that was rigged."
Oh, there's no way. Tampa Bay and Kansas City. People were saying it was rigged.
They're like, "There's no way that like the Broncos who lost to the Seahawks, who aren't even that good." I'm like, you think if the NFL was going to rig the Super Bowl, they would book a 3.5-hour squash match,
right?
Like, can you imagine if like let's say
over Peyton Manning?
Over Peyton Manning. Let's take it into pro wrestling rules. Let's say like The Rock comes back, right, and challenges Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and then Roman Reigns just beats his ass for 30 minutes straight, and Rock gets no offense.
Yeah,
like you know how stupid that would be. Why would you want to book that? Like, if you were gonna rig the Super Bowl, you'd rig it in like the most like pro wrestling way, where like Peyton Manning gets a shine, and then the Seahawks cut him off and have the heat, and then it's back and forth, and then they go to 5 overtimes or whatever. You know what I mean?
Like this conversation's come up. Maybe it's because the NBA playoffs are starting again, but like this has popped up online in the last few days, and I've like gone back and forth with some people over it about the NBA being rigged, and then people talking about this past Super Bowl, like, oh, they rigged it for Tom Brady because they wanted him to get another win. And I'm like, why would they make it so not close? If it, like you said, like, why wouldn't you make it exciting, right? With the NBA thing, it's like, okay, like all the NBA is rigged. Why would the NBA have the Spurs win 5 times? Like you had like, Tim, you had, Kobe, Shaq, Iverson, T-Mac, like, you had all these guys in that era.
And they also had the Pistons win and then go back.
Yao Ming, who's like this international,
the Chauncey Billups Pistons, who were also kind of like,
like a little there bit, were so many. Why did the 2005 finals even happen? Why would the NBA go, what we need to do is, Pistons Spurs, or was it 2003, like Nets and Spurs? Like that, the Spurs alone are like the anti-NBA rigging argument.
Where they had LeBron get swept by the Spurs. Like, that'd be great TV.
Why would LeBron be 4-6 in the finals if it was really? Everyone says the NBA.
He'd be like Ric Flair. He'd have 16.
He'd be like 10-0, right? Or like he'd be like,
he'd have the Undertaker WrestleMania streak, 21-0.
He'd be like 8-2 because you want it to be kind of believable. He didn't just win 10. Go 10.
Yeah, he had like 8 finals wins, but then like there was one where like James Harden hit him in the back with a steel chair and stuck one on him. You know what I mean? Like Adam Silver distracted the referees, all 4 of them. Like he's just jumping up and down on the court doing this, and Harden from behind.
Yeah, it's like, everyone, well, not everyone, but there's people who are like, the NBA, they want LeBron to be the next Jordan, and they're trying to rig it so he can be on that level and all that. And I'm like, why would they have made it this hard for him to get what Jordan has, right? Because everyone knows he's going to be judged on the championships, and he needs to win 6, and he can't lose, even if he goes 6-6 in the, he finishes at 6-6, people are still going to say that's not good enough, right? Like, if that was really their goal, why would they have him lose all them times? Like the first one against San Antonio, like okay, he was really
it's character development on
that's a good story, right? Like
because that's according to Amaar's unwritten rules. You can't just get to the finals and win.
Right.
Like how dare you, young whippersnapper?
You gotta lose.
You gotta go there and get your ass kicked first, and then you come back and win it. Exactly. You can't just expect to just go from worst to first. How dare you?
Yeah, you can't do that. Anyway, what are we talking about? Boxing. So yeah, Wilder Fury. I mean, you know what? It was like I wasn't. Now I want to get it because I think you talked me into it. You got me more excited.
Well, I just now told you it existed tonight. Did you know about it before I mentioned it?
Oh, I knew they were doing it. Because the last I heard was like a arbiter ruled that it had to happen this year. But they didn't have a date. And so I found out
July 24th. How much does a boxing pay-per-view cost right now?
I mean,
they're like 80 bucks.
To be like 50, but I remember, I mean, the last one I got was like 75 or something.
That's so much, dude.
I know.
Why are they so much money these days?
The thing too is like they don't put much into hyping the undercard, so you're really just paying for like one fight. You know, it's like they'll have an undercard
that might last 30 seconds.
Yeah, like you'll have an undercard that'll be, you know, it'll have some title fights on it or some title eliminator fights on it or whatever. But they don't really like. It's never like they don't promote like a card, like a whole card. It's just the main event. It's like Wilder Fury 3. And, you know, in small print, this guy, and this guy, right? The last time I really recall it being promoted as like a card was when I think it was like the Charlo brothers both fought on the same card. They're twin brothers. They're like, were they welterweights? I forgot. But they're twin brothers and they both fight and they, you know, are both like champions. And so I think they fought on the same night. And that was promoted as like, oh, like 2 headline fights, right? So
maybe Amaar, what we could do is on the Tyson Fury Wilder card, you could get one or both of the Paul brothers on there. Yeah. Can we get the Paul brothers in tag team action?
Can they fight each other?
No, I want to get them in tag team action versus Mayweather and Pacquiao. And then we'd have not only the storyline of the brothers, but we'd have Pacquiao and Mayweather who like don't like each other. You know what I mean? Let's just make it full pro wrestling.
Is Mayweather going to turn on Pacquiao?
Yeah. Can they coexist?
Yeah. Like, No, but you gotta get Tyson on there though.
Sorry, I watched Backlash 1999 today while I was in the gym, so I'm very pro wrestling attitude era in my mind right now.
No, you gotta get Mike Tyson on there though. It's gotta be like.
He'll be in a different fight, not versus the Paul brothers. But
maybe Tyson's like the special ref,
the enforcer.
Yeah. Why don't we do that in boxing? Like
might as well. After this Mayweather Paul, we didn't really get to this, but after this Mayweather Paul like fiasco where they like had he stole his hat. And there's all this other thing with the media frenzy. Like you might as well just make it full blown pro wrestling. Yeah, you know what I mean.
There was talk of like Mayweather fighting both the brothers on the same night. Like he was.
I'd be into that. That'd be cool.
One after the other,
because then you could
or a handicap boxing match.
Okay, that's ridiculous.
Because your tag team boxing match idea wasn't ridiculous, right?
Do you have to tag in and out?
No, it's 2-on-1.
They're both in the ring at the same time.
Hey, you said Floyd's the best defensive fighter ever. Let's see how good he really is,
brother. I'd pay to watch that. If he could defeat both Paul brothers, I'd give it up to him. I don't know that much about boxing, but I'd say he's the greatest of all time. If we could take down 2 guys at one time.
Okay. Here's the question: 2-on-1. Could Floyd Mayweather beat me and you? 2-on-1 at the same time.
Right now, without his training, yes. Like if I got in the ring tomorrow, yes. You know why? Because I would be out of breath after the first round and I'd give up.
And then it'd be me 1-on-1, and then I'd be tired after the second round. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how good a shape you're in, but I'm assuming you're in better shape than I am because
2 relatively in shape people could fly.
Today was my first day back in the gym in a long time, and I did 30 minutes on the elliptical, and I'm feeling it. So, you know.
Yeah, I'm supposed to go to the gym tomorrow. That's the plan. Things have just been crazy, and yeah, I haven't been to the gym in a while. But the plan is to go tomorrow. So anyway,
Yeah, you gotta train so you can fight that third round of the Flood. So.
Oh yeah. Me versus the Flood. No, we're gonna be hopefully gone before it floods again.
Burton Flood 3.
That sounds like no. You sounded like the movie trailer guy.
Yeah. In a world where
broken pipes cause.
But yeah, Amaar, I think on that note, we are probably all out of time, probably way over on time, but that's okay because we've had a great episode.
And that's why we call it triple overtime.
That's why we call it triple overtime, because we're giving you extra time.
Right.
We're going triple overtime. So for Amaar and myself, this has been triple overtime. We will see you next time.
And Dillon did this episode with one eye.
Arr.